Tonight, a united front from overseas. Leaders on the way to Washington as we speak, pushing for peace in Ukraine. Just hours from now, President Trump set to meet with Ukraine's president after Friday's summit with Russia. And now, multiple key European heads of state heading to the White House for backup tomorrow. Can they avoid the kind of confrontation we saw 6 months ago in the Oval Office? We've got the late developments. 2 American cruise passengers drowning in separate incidents at a new resort in the Bahamas. The latest on the investigation. Take a look at this. Divers rescued, caught in waves from Hurricane Erin. The storm weakening overnight, but it could get stronger soon. The latest track and the impact to the East Coast. The search for suspects after a deadly shooting at a Brooklyn nightclub. 3 people killed, several more hurt. We'll take you live to the scene. Caught on camera, dramatic moments as masked federal agents surround a car. Windows smashed and then shots fired. What we're learning about the violent confrontation. And there's good news tonight. Potlucks for total strangers coming together and sharing much more than food.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the world watching the White House and world leaders set to descend on Washington just hours from now. A kind of European show of force in solidarity with Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, in his own critical summit with President Trump to try to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine. On the line, no less than the future of that country, just a few days after the Trump-Putin talks in Alaska and 6 months after a stunning Oval Office blow-up between Presidents Trump and Zelenskyy. So will tomorrow look different or just as difficult with the diplomatic stage now set? We have team coverage tonight from Washington to Kharkiv, starting with our Vaughn Hilliard at the White House.
Tonight, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy returning to the White House for his pivotal meeting tomorrow with President Trump. Zelenskyy will come flanked in solidarity by European leaders, the UK and Italian prime ministers, the presidents of France and Finland, the German chancellor, and the heads of both NATO and the European Commission.
Ukraine can always count on Europe.
Zelenskyy in Brussels today.
We are deciding what we are going to discuss in Washington.
Hoping for a different outcome than his last visit to the Oval Office in February.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
You don't have the cards.
The White House still trying to mediate an end to Russia's war. After Trump's stately fanfare and sit-down with Putin Friday, his negotiators largely tight-lipped about the details.
Can you name one thing that President Trump is asking Russia to give up in order to get peace?
Well, I'm not going to disclose those things.
Secretary Rubio also pushing back on suggestions that the White House will try to pressure Zelenskyy to cede some land.
No one's pushing Ukraine to give that up.
But shortly after that interview, Trump contradicting that, reposting on Truth Social one user's statement, Ukraine must be willing to lose some territory to Russia. Otherwise, the longer the war goes on, they will keep losing even more land. Former National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan rejecting assertions that Russia is militarily winning.
Russia right now is trying to achieve diplomatically what they cannot achieve militarily.
And in a pivot, Trump, earlier this year, not committing to future security protections for Ukraine as part of any deal.
I'm not going to make security guarantees beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that.
Today, though, his special envoy, Steve Witkoff.
We agreed to robust security guarantees that I would describe as game-changing.
Vaughn is joining us now from the White House. And with so much at stake, Vaughn, it's possible the meetings tomorrow could be lengthy.
That's right, Hallie. Secretary Rubio suggesting tomorrow's meetings could last 6, 7 or more hours. And President Zelenskyy is already saying he wants a follow-up meeting to this one that includes Vladimir Putin, though said today he's been given no sign by the Russians that Putin is willing to do it. Hallie.
Vaughn Hilliard live for us at the White House tonight. Thank you. Overseas, the people of Ukraine holding out hope tonight that peace could finally come to their country. Our Richard Engel reports from Kharkiv.
Tonight, President Zelenskyy said he still wants a ceasefire with Russia to stop the killing while a final deal is worked out.
Putin has many demands, but we do not know all of them. And if there are really as many as we heard, then it will take time to go through them all.
Zelenskyy spoke before heading back to Washington for the first time since February. And this time, he's got backup. Zelenskyy is clearly hoping to avoid the embarrassment of his last visit when he was overtalked and ultimately kicked out of the White House. But what's at stake for Ukraine goes far beyond protocol and pride. Russia occupies 20% of Ukraine, and President Putin has said all of that territory and more is his price for a deal. Ukrainians find that outrageous and believe that Putin should get nothing of what he's taken by force, and that Ukraine must have security guarantees from the West so that Russia won't invade again. Ivana Skiba is a journalist in Kharkiv.
What are you hoping will come out of this meeting between Zelenskyy and Trump?
My hope is that like Western world or democratic world still exists, that we still have like common values, common dignity. If we give up land, this war will continue.
As President Zelenskyy heads back to Washington, Ukrainians will be watching how he's received. Will he get a red carpet or another cold shoulder? And will President Trump pressure him to accept Putin's demands for land? Hallie?
Richard Engel in Ukraine, thank you. Also tonight, we're learning more about 2 American tourists who died within just a few hours of each other at a brand new resort destination owned by Carnival Cruises. Jesse Kirsch has those developments.
The Royal Bahamas police say the 2 Americans, both in their 70s, died within hours of each other at this private Carnival Cruise Line destination called Celebration Key. Investigators are describing both events as drowning incidents. First, police say late Friday morning, a 79-year-old man became unresponsive while snorkeling at a beach. Then that afternoon, investigators say a 74-year-old woman who sailed on a different ship became unresponsive while swimming in a pool. Both times, a lifeguard gave assistance and CPR was administered, according to police. Celebration Key on Grand Bahama Island has only been open for weeks.
So regardless of the cruise line, if you're getting off the ship but going to the cruise line's private destination, they treat safety, security, medical personnel, all of that the same as if you were on the ship itself?
Absolutely. The number one aspect of any ship's design is safety. They are there to ensure that everybody aboard, passengers, crew, are as safe as possible.
In a statement, Carnival writing, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the guests and their families, and our care team is providing assistance." Now investigators say autopsies will be performed on both victims to help determine their exact causes of death.
Jesse Kirsch is joining us from Miami now. And Jesse, we are hearing from the State Department tonight.
That's right, Hallie. When asked about these incidents, the State Department told NBC News that the U.S. government is supporting these victims' families with consular assistance. Hallie?
Jesse Kirsch, thank you. Farther south in the Caribbean, dramatic new video of rescuers saving divers from dangerous waters created by Hurricane Erin. You're looking at the area near St. Croix. Rescue crews rushing to save these divers after they were swept away by dangerous surf. At the time, the hurricane was a monster Category 5, but it's since been downgraded to a Category 3. Even so, that storm has knocked out power for some 100,000 people tonight in Puerto Rico because of the heavy rain and the intense wind slamming that island and the nearby Virgin Islands. For Puerto Rico, the worst of it is expected to hit later on tonight. For more, let's bring in WNBC meteorologist Matt Brickman. And Matt, Erin is a Category 3 now, but it could get stronger again soon, right?
Yeah, Hallie, that's absolutely right. The only reason the storm has weakened is because it has been impacted by those outer rain bands hitting Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. But as it moves away from land over those warm waters, could re-strengthen to a Category 4 in the next couple of days and impact areas up and down the East Coast with large waves, dangerous rip currents and beach erosion, even though the eye staying out to sea. And the reason being is because the wind field from the storm is huge. Over 200 miles away from the center of this storm, we could still see tropical storm force winds, which includes the coast of the Carolinas, areas like the Outer Banks, along with Bermuda as well for the middle of the week. Hallie.
Matt Brickman, thank you. To New York City and a deadly shooting at a nightclub overnight. 3 people killed, several more hurt. Maya Eaglin is at the scene for us. And Maya, what else are we learning about what happened?
Hallie, investigators say they are still searching for up to 4 possible shooters who left 3 people dead and 9 injured at this Brooklyn lounge called Taste of the City. Authorities say the shooting happened around 3:30 this morning, and they've recovered over 40 bullet casings. According to officials, this could be gang-related. New York City Mayor Eric Adams came to the scene today. Here's a bit of what he had to say.
When you have a shooting of this magnitude, it shakes you. And we're going to continue to do our job, and we're asking the residents to assist in any information that they have.
In a social media post, the lounge expressed its condolences. Right now, police say no arrests have been made. Hallie?
Maya Eaglin in Brooklyn, thank you. Tonight, more states are now deploying their own National Guard troops here to the nation's capital as part of the Trump administration's federal takeover of D.C. police. Gary Grumbach is in Washington for us tonight. Gary, good evening.
Hallie, tonight hundreds of men and women from the Ohio, West Virginia, and South Carolina National Guards are on their way here to the D.C. Guard headquarters, where they'll be checking in and getting briefed on their mission. But where the National Guard and federal agents are spanning out across the city is raising questions. The Guard is focusing on more high-profile areas of the city, including the White House, the National Mall, and Union Station, largely to serve as a deterrent. But months' worth of data reviewed by NBC News indicates those aren't the areas of high crime. Officials tell NBC News Guard soldiers will be deployed to more residential areas of D.C., but that hasn't happened yet. Hallie?
Gary Grumbach, thank you. Out west tonight, new questions over the confrontation captured on camera when masked federal agents opened fire after stopping a car in Southern California. Here's Steve Patterson.
A tense confrontation with federal agents in Southern California has left open questions about why the encounter ended with gunfire. Customs and Border Protection agents say they were conducting a targeted operation before a traffic stop yesterday morning in San Bernardino. As masked men, including one in a CBP hat, approached the car, an unmarked pickup truck is visible outside.
What do you want?
The agents asked the driver to open the window. But the driver says he won't open it. Seconds later, the agents shatter the driver's side glass.
Hey, you can't do that!
The driver hits the gas, followed by 3 loud pops, confirmed by Homeland Security as gunfire. In another angle, slowed down, you can see the agent's hand reaching through the broken window just as the truck speeds off. The video does not show how the family was stopped, and it isn't clear why they were pulled over. The Department of Homeland Security says the suspect drove his car at the officers and struck 2 CBP officers with his vehicle, forcing a CBP officer to discharge his firearm in self-defense. The driver, identified as Francisco, spoke to our station NBC4 Los Angeles at his home, saying he had to protect his life and family. Later, federal agents and local police showed up to the home, clashing with community members, but officials did not detain Francisco. NBC News law enforcement analyst Rob D'Amico.
I think maybe higher ups in the agency or a judge reviewed it and did not think that the evidence that those officers had were enough to get an arrest warrant. So I think that's really telling of the situation from the federal side.
Questions that have left a family and their community asking why.
Brother was okay, Pop was okay. I'm just glad we're okay. But it's not cool that ICE is able to do something like that.
Steve Patterson, NBC News, Los Angeles.
A new twist now in the strike against Air Canada, with the union representing 10,000 flight attendants refusing the Canadian government's order to return to work. That strike affecting thousands of passengers, with hundreds of flights canceled over the weekend, and it's having a ripple effect on airports around the world. We are following protests erupting in Israel tonight. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis flooding the streets and blocking major highways today. Some of the biggest anti-war protests in months as Israel's military prepares to seize Gaza City. Those demonstrations are to protest the war in Gaza and demand a hostage deal for Israelis still in Hamas captivity. When we come back, there is good news tonight about the recipe that makes this dinner party extra sweet.
One of the beautiful things about
There is good news tonight about the power of good food, a good story, and especially good company. Here in rural Maine, the real action's not the countryside, but inside at the dinner table.
I just really like getting to know people.
And this is no ordinary dinner party. At this potluck, along with something to eat, you bring something to share.
That's where I learned to make everything out of nothing. We started this venture at 11 o'clock at night through the streets of Portsmouth, England.
The idea? To connect by sharing stories with strangers.
30 years later, I still remember the feeling.
And we were flying rather than sailing.
People naturally connect over food. Food is something we all have in common.
Carl Schatz and Margaret Hathaway run these story-sharing suppers through their nonprofit, Community Plate.
I think these were Sadie's.
That name inspired by a family heirloom passed down to Carl. Now he and Margaret take care of their guests just like their family, with love.
And we were asked not to sit with family members and people that we knew so that we could get to know other people.
Can I get a number?
Oh, sure. Just give Tonight's theme, friends along the way.
People came in as strangers, but people left as friends. I have, I think, 8 new people's names in my contact list now.
From mismatched dinnerware to food-themed icebreakers and a little something extra sweet for dessert, more than 30 suppers later, this recipe seems to be working.
Well, our goal is, let's make it a potluck movement.
I think we all need new stories in our lives from other people.
Turning strangers into friends.
Every culture has some imperative to share food with strangers and neighbors. It's seeing the humanity of somebody else.
So an evening like tonight, where a group of people who don't know each other are willing to come together to share food, break bread, and share who they are, is what makes us human. Because that's a story I'd like to hear.
And a good reminder, we all have something to share. That's Nightly News for this Sunday. Tom will be back tomorrow. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC, thanks for watching and have a great week.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.